today's guest as the younger sibling to New York's most beloved sports star, Derek Jeter. But when she wasn't attending his games and cheering him on, she was busy building a successful career of her own, employing the same family-first mindset that's been a driving force in his career. In 1996, when most teenagers were making mall runs with their friends, she was busy volunteering with the family business, the Turn 2 Foundation, which was founded by her brother to encourage youth to turn away from drugs and alcohol and turn to healthy lifestyles. And nearly 20 years later, she's still at it, but now she's the boss. In 2010, she earned the title of president after spearheading successful fundraising, branding, and partnership initiatives that serve the communities of New York, her hometown of Kalamazoo, Michigan, and Tampa Bay, Florida. And as if that wasn't enough, she's also the mother to a 4-year-old social media superstar, Jalen. And as my Spelman sister and dear friend, I always ask her, how does she find the time? Maybe today she'll reveal her secrets. Please welcome Sharlee Jeter to UnManning the Game TV.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good.
So in full disclosure, we have to tell everyone that we know each other.
Exactly. and that I call you Renee.
Yes, Sharlee and I have been friends for a long time. We met freshman year in college, and we've been friends ever since. And she calls me Renee, which is my middle name. So if we're talking and she says Renee, that's still me. So I'm glad that we're finally able to make this happen.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So let's get right into things. What a lot of people don't know about you is that you were an athlete. Everyone knows Derek as this really great athlete, but you weren't too bad yourself.
I mean, when we were growing up, we used to play all different sports, and our parents wanted us to be involved with anything and everything to see what we really were passionate about. So we just happened to grow up a sports family, and I played a lot of sports. In high school, I was a volleyball player, basketball player, and of course softball player, but focused mainly on softball.
So you attended Spelman College, and that's, as great as Spelman is, one thing that it's not known for is sports. So when you were selecting colleges, did that ever factor into your decision?
Not so much. I had made a decision before I applied to Spelman that I wasn't going to go on to play sports in college, and that was part of me being young and trying to get, out of Derek's shadow and not do exactly what he had done. I mean, now that I'm older, I, would have probably taken it a little differently. But then I just wanted to go off on my own and do something different. And if I played softball, then I would be constantly compared.
Right.
So I decided, to go to Spelman. My dad's a graduate of Fisk University. So when we went down there for the World Series in '96, we went and visited the campus, and I fell in love with it.
So you were a math major freshman year.
Yeah.
What were your career aspirations?
Well, I wasn't a math major until my sophomore year. I
Okay.
went to Spelman as a sociology major, and I did that my first year, and that's because that is what my father studied sociology, and he has his PhD in social work. So, being the daddy's girl that I am, I thought it was so interesting what he did, and that's what I thought I wanted to do. And I went, and it was I enjoyed sociology, but it wasn't, my passion, and when I started taking classes, and I decided I always loved math, and so I went into be a math major.
See, most people go in the opposite direction.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I entered Spelman as a chemistry major,
Mm-hmm.
and then was like, this is way too hard,
Mm-hmm.
way too many maths involved, and all
Mm-hmm.
that stuff. And then I went into psychology.
Right. Well, I mean, my whole mindset because people ask me this all the time, but when you write papers and there's English, you read books, and people interpret things differently.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always a debater. People know me to go back and forth, and I'm okay with debating people on anything, but I didn't really know how to grasp the concept of, as long as it was based on what I was reading, that somebody could say that I was wrong,
Okay.
if that was how I took it. And so I would spend a lot of time going back and forth to try to defend things. And so math, 1 + 1 = 2, I don't care how you cut it,
Right.
that's what it is. It's very concrete, which is really the opposite of my personality. I'm kind of, more on the creative side, but for school, math is what I loved, and I felt like, I could tell you exactly why I got there and what the answer was, and there was a way to get there, and everybody would get there.
So while you were a student at college, your brother was off in New York becoming the Derek Jeter. The Yankees were in the middle of building their dynasty, and he was a huge part of that. And your family had also started this foundation. While you're away, how did your role start to increase with that?
Well, I mean, I started in high school on a snow day with one of my best friends. We were both at my house, and we were selling tickets to the first fundraiser with the Yellow Pages. So that tells you how long ago that was. And we were just making cold calls to different companies. And so that was my volunteer start with the foundation. And then once I turned 18, I became a board member because it is a family foundation. And when I would come home in the summers, I would, intern with the foundation, which was a fun experience. But I learned a lot through that process. And then I didn't start working for the foundation until I graduated. So.
Okay. So you got a very up close and personal view from it, just to kind of understand the inner workings of it. But it wasn't until you actually graduated, had that diploma in your hand, that your parents said, okay, now we can hire you as a full-time employee.
Right. I mean, I was on the board since I was 18, so I was really involved. We would always have family meetings around the holidays and sit down and talk about the overall goals of the foundation. So I was really involved in that, but didn't start really actually, having too much of a say until I had a degree to back it up.
Let's talk about the foundation's mission of encouraging youth to turn away from drugs and alcohol and turn to a healthy lifestyle. What inspired that?
Well, my dad's a drug and alcohol, he was a drug and alcohol abuse counselor, and so he knew a lot about that, and he would talk to us a lot about that at home growing up. So when Derek decided he wanted to start his own foundation his rookie year and asked my dad if he would run it, he said, he knew that was what my dad did by trade, and thought that it would be a great fit and something that affected every kid. Didn't matter how much money you had, what area you came from, all kids are at risk for drugs and alcohol. And, we developed it so that it wasn't just, we're going to focus on drugs and alcohol. We're going to focus on them staying away from that, but giving them alternatives to turn to so that they didn't have to fall into that trap.
And it just so happens that Derek's number is 2, and it's just very, it's something that's clever and also easy to remember as well.
And the whole name came from shortstop turning a double play.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
A lot of double entendres there, which I love. So when did you realize that being part of the family business was your career path?
I don't know the exact point that I decided I wanted to do it, but growing up, I always said I wanted to be a pediatrician.
Okay.
Which that got thrown out the minute I knew how long you had to be in school. But I always wanted to work with kids, and I always wanted to do something along those lines. And when I started to learn and be on the board of the foundation and see all of the impact that we were having with the foundation, I figured I was taking all of my passions and putting it into one career. So I had exactly what I wanted to do right in front of me. And we're a very close family, so it was just a perfect fit.
So I've worked with my brother before, and it gets a little dicey. I'm not going to lie. It's a very challenging situation to navigate. With you being the younger sister and the youngest child in the family, how are you able to have that balance of working well together and still loving each other as a family?
Well, first I have to start with one thing, is that I've worked with your brother too, and he is my absolute favorite. So, so Ronnie, we love you. But, as a family, I mean, it's been a long process, and you grow a lot, through it. And we constantly have to remind each other, each day that we're all working towards the same goal, and we're all supportive of one another, and we have each other's backs. And so I think that's something that has made it work. But also too, I don't think it's for everyone. I don't think, some people can work with their family, and some people it doesn't work out as well. Right. One thing that we've been able to do is just really respect each other's roles and have separate roles. And so, there was it was just a lot of saying, Sharlee, this is what your job is, and this is what my father does, and this is what my mother will do for the foundation, and this is Derek's role, and making sure we all always on the same page, and then making sure that we never we would cross over sometimes because we're a small family foundation at first, but just respecting each other, and didn't mean it was always perfect,
right.
And there were tough times, but and one of the things for me is today, it's really, I find myself too, especially because I work more with Derek now that he's not playing, and there's so many new things happening, so we talk almost daily. And he's had to check me a couple times, be like, I saw you rolling your eyes at me in a meeting or whatever else, and I'm like, well, because I knew what you were thinking, and nobody else did, but I knew how you were looking at me. So it sometimes we kind of cross over from family to professional because it's very hard, and we're all passionate about what we do, so we work all the time. And we got to a point too where as a family we had to say, look, we're coming home for the holidays, and we may have an hour or two that we're going to have a meeting because we're all together, but the rest of the time it's family time, and we're not going to talk about work, and that's hard for me, but we've respected it, and it's worked for us. So
since Derek is more involved now, since he's not playing, and you are the president, does he respect what you do a little bit more now?
Well, no, I think he respected what I did even while he was playing, and I think that now it's more of, because he was always very involved, I think now he just has more time to talk to me about something or put in his 2 cents. So I kind of want him to go back to baseball because of that. But no, it's interesting because I think that now it gives him the opportunity to learn how we get there a little bit more, or to ask questions about why I made a decision on something. But he still lets me do me, and I think that's why it works for us.
So next year, Turn 2 will turn 20, which is amazing. And especially in a day and age when you read about athlete foundations always, not always misappropriating funds, but a lot of times you hear about athlete foundations that don't deliver on the mission that they set out to, or they don't serve the youth or the communities or the purpose in the ways that they intend to. How have you guys managed to avoid those pitfalls?
Well, I mean, one thing I'll say is that I think we should hear more about how all foundations make those mistakes. We just happen, because they're in the public eye, to hear about the celebrities that are making those mistakes. So that comes with the territory. But I think that one thing, that people don't realize is that most celebrities, most athletes give back. They may not start their own foundation, they may not, have something like Turn 2, but they do give back in their own way, and some of them don't publicize it. And I don't think that we have enough recognition for those people. But a lot of times, for us, it was always making sure that we knew we didn't know everything. I mean, my dad's not a lawyer, I'm not an accountant, and, making sure that we always staffed people or had a team around us with different strengths that would do their jobs instead of asking someone who is an accountant to be a manager. I mean, just making sure that we really separated and had the right people on the team, and also having people on our team that weren't afraid to tell us no and weren't afraid to tell us we were wrong. And there wasn't too many times that when you have a large team of people that all care about the mission or all care about what you're building, it's not too often that everyone's going to tell you go ahead and something goes wrong. So we just really made sure that we relied on the people around us. We never made independent decisions. And we always made sure that we had a clear-cut mission, and our mission has not changed since the day that the foundation started, which is rare for a lot of foundations, because as you grow, you decide, well, maybe I want to include this, and maybe I want to include that. So we've kept a really clear-cut mission, and always go back to every decision we make is, does it fulfill that mission? And if it doesn't, then it's not for us.
So what advice would you give to any rookies or just anyone looking to start a foundation? They don't even have to be athletes or celebrities.
Have a clear-cut mission and something that you're passionate about, and surround yourself with the right people and positive people and people that really want to see you do well and believe in your mission.
One thing that
a lot of people admired about Derek as an athlete was the fact that, you know, he did have this strong support system behind him. And even though he's no longer playing, that's still the case. And with the foundation, you guys have really managed to be a steady, positive influence within New York, you know, here in Kalamazoo, Michigan, where you guys are from, and then also in Tampa. How have the communities responded to the work that you're doing?
Well, I think they've responded great. I mean, we wouldn't be here for 20 years if they haven't. You know, our biggest goal when my dad started the foundation with Derek, and we all started working, the goal was to make sure that, okay, maybe people are going to pay attention to the foundation or recognize the foundation for the first time because of Derek. But when they actually, I always say to people, I just need them at one fundraiser. And if I can sit them in a seat during one fundraiser, then I've got them. And it's just always having the product to back it up and making sure that once you get these people in the door, which we've been very, very fortunate to have Derek's platform to do so. And once we have them, then we have the product to back it up.
I've attended a number of your fundraisers, and every year I am just kind of like in awe of the work that the Turn 2 Foundation does. Not only because I'm your friend and I know that this is what you give your life to, but also just someone from the outside looking in. It's very, very admirable. And the fact that like 100% of your Jeter's Leaders kids go on to college, that is a phenomenal feat. And I really feel like, what are you guys doing that so many cities within the country can't, haven't really figured out the success rate of how to get these kids to go on to college or have that interest in college?
Well, I mean, I think there's a number of things that we do, so it's not just one, you know, simple formula, but I'll try to simplify it. One thing is to, I think that we need to knock down the stereotype that athletes aren't role models, and that's one of our, you know, one of the biggest things that we hear that kind of just makes our skin crawl, because athletes are role models, and there are a lot of great athletes out there doing wonderful things that are worthy of emulating. So, you know, that's one thing. Derek has created a platform for these kids to have exposure to different things, to be able to travel to different cities, to see different college campuses. And I think that's one of the biggest things is first of all, they have a support group in us. Okay. And we have people that are saying that, you know, we believe in you and you are going to succeed. It's not a choice, you're going to. And it doesn't matter what you come from, what your life situation is, how much money you have, we want you to succeed. And you're gonna, and it's not a choice to go off to college. That's your next grade after 12th grade. So, and I think the biggest thing is exposure. Right. I think not all kids have the same opportunities in life. And if we can give every kid the same opportunity as all the other kids out there that come from amazing support groups, and don't get me wrong, our kids come from all different types of families and they have great support within their families at home, or we wouldn't be able to be as successful as we are. But you know, just exposing them to everything and showing them things, because if you don't see what's out there, then you have no idea what you can accomplish. When adults talk at children or to children, a lot of times kids, especially high school kids that are at that stage in their lives where they know everything, sometimes it goes in one ear and out the other, and that's what they spend the majority of their day doing, is listening to adults. And if we can take young students and tell them that they have a responsibility at a young age to be role models and to go out to their peers and have the same positive influence on their peers as the negative stuff that goes on, where kids are, you know, getting their friends to do negative things. If we can flip that, then we have something. And so when you pull a group of 40 kids from New York from all 4 years of high school and 40 kids from Kalamazoo, and you bring them together and they all have one goal and one mission, and it does not matter race, sex, you know, income, anything that's going on, single parent home, you know, foster care, anything. If we say that they can all accomplish this one thing and they all have one goal, when they have that sense of responsibility, they really do rise to the challenge, and just not lowering the bar for them. And I think that a lot of times we like to coddle kids
Right.
and, say, oh, it's so sad that they're going through this. And it's,
Right.
no, we want to get them out of this. So keep raising the bar for them and they will meet it.
Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about being a woman of color in the position that you're in. So within the foundation, it's a family foundation, so I'm sure that they're very welcome in there. But outside of the office, and when you have to attend these meetings, and when you look around the conference room and you're maybe the only woman of color or the only woman in the room, how do you handle those situations or navigate those situations?
I probably handle them a little bit differently than most, in the sense that when I walk into this, into a room where it's like that, I mean, I'm the only one that knows the foundation that's in that room. I'm the only one that knows what our family's entire mission is. So when I go in there, I just basically do me, and you have to sit down and just do your job and not let it get to you. But yeah, I mean, I just go in, and it's a little different, I think, in my instance, where I can go into a meeting. I mean, it's tough. I've had situations where someone has, especially because I used to work for my father.
Right.
And so I would find more struggle in getting people to come to me or to talk to me. And I'm not talking within our inner team, because we have a really strong inner team of people that we work with outside of our family. But when you go into a meeting and your father's sitting there just because you invited him to the meeting, and I'm running the meeting, and to have somebody only look straight at my dad and only ask him questions for response, I'm able to laugh about it, because I know I have these discussions, offline with my family. But it's just that, to me, used to get under my skin. But when you have an understanding within your family, and my dad kind of laughs and says, you're talking to the wrong person, then it kind of goes away, and either they can take the long route to get an answer or the quick route. And I say, if you have a deadline and you need a yes or no, and that's my job to answer you, you sure can go talk to Derek. You can talk to my mom. You can talk to my dad. But I guarantee you, they're going to send you right back to me.
Right.
So it's up to them.
So what advice would you give to women who are either looking to become the head of a company one day, or just kind of don't know exactly what path they want to take?
One thing I would say is stop comparing yourself to other women.
Okay.
That's probably my biggest thing. I mean, I come from a competitive family, so it didn't matter if you were a girl, a guy, you went in to win. And you were capable of winning. And I think that when you walk in and you are the hardest worker, and you are the smartest, because you've made sure that you've went out there and studied everything you need to study, and you're walking in there with the most tools in the middle of a meeting, you have to be undeniable. And eventually they're going to come back to you. They may walk away in the beginning and shut you out, but eventually someone's going to open that door, and I would just keep fighting to get it.
Let's talk about Jalen.
Okay.
Your son, Jalen, he is probably the smartest kid I know. And I'm not just saying that. And I have a nephew who I adore. But Jalen is a genius. Can recite the number of any Yankee player, dead or alive. Has amazing athletic skills at 4 years old. Are you prepared to dedicate your life to being a soccer mom, baseball mom, football mom, basketball mom, if that's what he wants to do?
Well, I devote myself to being Jalen's mom. Whatever he wants to do. I mean, I'm gonna do exactly what my parents did with me and Derek. We had to be involved with everything. We had to try everything at least once. So I mean, he loves a lot of things. I think people take a lot of notice to him and his baseball skills for the obvious reasons, but he loves basketball, he loves football, even though mommy won't let him do that. But he loves music, he loves learning, he loves reading. So I mean, he has a lot of passions, but the minute that I saw how much he loved baseball, I was like, yes. Because parents wait a long time to find out what their kid's passions are, and I know that right now I have a tool to get Jalen to do well in school and get his chores done and handle responsibilities, because I know what he's passionate about and what to use in order to get him to do the right thing.
So how are you able to juggle being a mom and running this nonprofit organization?
No, a big support group. Jalen has a great family around him. I mean, he has a wonderful father, who spends a lot of time with him, and his grandparents are with him all the time. And if I didn't have them, and I didn't have all the people around us in our life, that's my support group, I definitely wouldn't be the mother that I am.
So, and then since Derek's retired, he started a publishing company, the Players Tribune, and a bunch of other different ventures. How has that changed or impacted what you do on day to day?
Well, it's changed it a little bit. I mean, now I'm over the children's portion of Jeter Publishing, which has been really fun, because all of the books that come out under Jeter Children's is based on the ideals of the foundation. So it fits perfectly with what I do day to day with Turn 2. In regards to all of his other companies, I mean, I think it just opens the door for new opportunities, because everything that Derek did when he was playing ball, through marketing deals, business deals, all of them had something that benefited the foundation. And what has been amazing for me to watch is that as he transitions and does new businesses, that he's still living by that same formula. And so, you know, there's internship opportunities that we receive through his new business ventures, and there's a lot of different things that we're able to do, and a whole new platform, which makes my job exciting.
One thing is, I don't think people realize just how involved you are in Derek's business affairs off the field, obviously. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, I mean, I think that everything Derek does is intertwined. So, you know, there's always different events or different things that he's doing, or different ventures that he's going into that overlap with, you know, what I'm doing. But I also think too, because of the closeness of our family, and whether I was working for him or not, I'd like to think that I'd still be by his side, you know, through a lot of stuff, just because that's the way we were raised, and we're very close. So, yeah, I mean, we're always together. And I think that sometimes I would love to be together more. That's what people don't realize, is that, you know, I work a lot with him, but, you know, when you work that much, it's sometimes you're just looking for that extra time where it has nothing to do with work.
So what would you say have been the biggest keys to your success?
Family and support, good friends.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah. Very good friends. And just staying grounded. I think staying grounded and never feeling complacent, like never being happy with where I am, always knowing that there's something else to do. And I think the main thing is always going back to what the goal is of what I'm doing, and it's to help kids. And anytime I think about that, then I feel like there's no room to not succeed. So I'd say that's probably it.
And I think that for you to be involved specifically with this business for almost 20 years, that really says a lot about how passionate you are about it. What people don't know is that, like, I'll get a text from you at like 1-2 o'clock in the morning sometimes, and I'm like, why are you still awake? And just knowing that this is definitely like your life's work, you know. And I admire that about you, because so many times people just kind of like go through life pursuing something that they're truly not in love with, truly not passionate about, and with you it comes through so loud and clear that this is really what you feel like is your purpose.
Well, first of all, this is the first time I get to hear this. I'm going to do more interviews with Shana because it takes an interview to get this out of her. No, thank you, Shana. But yeah, no, I'm somebody who, if I wasn't passionate about what I was doing, I couldn't Well, I mean, if I'd do what I had to do, but I just don't know. First of all, this wouldn't be the career for me if I wasn't passionate, because it is a lot of time and a lot of work, and it's a lot of juggling your family time, you know, the time with my son, and you know, missing out on certain things because I'm traveling. But I love what I do, and I definitely I employ people that love it, and that's the only way I can run my office. So yeah, I love it.
So what do you see as being next for you?
You know, my biggest goal, you know, running the foundation, because I feel like there's always work to do, but you know, as we approach 20 years, you know, my big goal is we're really focusing on our Jeter's Leaders program. And I think we've gotten it to a point, or I know we've gotten it to a point that it can be emulated, and people have asked us all over the country, you know, how they can start their own Jeter's Leaders program. And one thing for us was that the biggest key to our program that made us very different from others was Derek's involvement.
Right.
And so, you know, my dream one day would be to package this up and, you know, work with all of the leagues and rookies that are coming into the league, and actually have a structure for them to start their own Jeter's Leaders program. It doesn't have to be a whole full-fledged foundation, but to have that umbrella program that they could just say, you know what, I can say it's already structured, this is what you need to do, this is what your team will commit, you know, in supporting, because the Yankees are still to this day very supportive of what we do and our Jeter's Leaders, but giving them all of those things that we spent 20 years building and expanding on, giving it to them and saying, you know, you could have, you know, whatever leaders for any player across the country. So that's my next big thing.
Well, I think you guys have definitely built the blueprint for success.
Thank you.
I think that if anyone can pull it off, it's the Turn 2 Foundation.
Thank you.
So congratulations on all your success, and thank you so much for sitting with me today.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Guys, this is Shana Renee for UnManning the Game TV, and this is Sharlee Jeter, and we will see you next time. Thanks for watching.
Bye.